The movie begins with Danbi, a young woman who dreams of becoming a successful fairy tale writer and fulfilling her father's dream. She's preparing to enter a children's literature contest, and while chasing her dream, she also starts a new job as a government employee. Her friend and editor, Park, offers to drive her to work and has even prepared a surprise gift to wish her luck on her first day. Danbi thanks him, unaware that Park has feelings for her. Park thinks Danbi is pure and innocent because she writes fairy tales. Meanwhile, Jang, who works at the Youth Protection Bureau, decides to resign because he's exhausted from all the overtime. He leaves his resignation letter on his boss's desk, but just then, his boss comes in and thanks him for all his hard work. He tells Jang that he won't have to worry about late nights anymore because a new employee is joining soon. All Jang needs to do is make sure this new hire lasts at least 3 months, after which he'll be transferred to another department. Delighted, Jang quietly takes back his resignation letter before his boss notices. A few minutes later, Danbi arrives at the Youth Protection Bureau, only to be shocked when she learns her actual task: reviewing pornographic videos and blocking or removing them according to telecom regulations. At first, she wants to quit immediately, but since she desperately needs the job, she stays, and Jang begins training her. That night, Danbi meets her friends at a bar and shares the funny but awkward details of her first day at work. Later at home, she sets up a writing schedule. The next day, Hwang Chan-sop, the owner of an adult novel publishing house, is in a good mood because a long-awaited side mirror for his old car has finally arrived. At that moment, his assistant informs him that one of their newly published novels has received a warning from the Youth Protection Bureau. Furious, he stages a protest outside the bureau. Just then, Danbi, riding her bike, swerves to avoid hitting a kitten and crashes into Hwang's car, breaking the side mirror. Hwang is distraught. They go together to an auto shop, and when Danbi learns that repairing the mirror will cost $100,000, she's stunned. She never imagined such an old car could be worth that much. The next day, she visits Hwang at the hospital to apologize, only to realize he faked being sick. Using the accident as leverage, he pressures her to help him avoid more warnings. When she refuses, telling him to stop writing worthless novels, she insists she'll pay back the debt little by little. This infuriates Hwang. That night, when Danbi tells her friends what happened, they jokingly suggest she should write adult novels herself and give them to Hwang to pay off her debt. After thinking it over, Danbi agrees and signs a contract with him. She'll write 20 adult novels in exchange for canceling the debt. Hwang accepts, convinced she'll never pull it off. But Danbi quickly runs into trouble. She's too embarrassed to write intimate scenes and doesn't know how to describe them. One evening, before leaving work, she downloads a few adult videos for inspiration. Jang catches her and she confesses everything, begging him not to report her for leaking information. He promises not to, but only if she stays at the bureau for 3 full months. She agrees, unaware that after those 3 months, Jang will finally be transferred. Time passes and Danbi juggles writing both fairy tales and adult novels, leaving her exhausted. After many struggles, she finally finishes her first adult novel and shows it to Hwang. But after reading it, he says it's clearly plagiarized from other works and tells her to start over. Danbi snaps, arguing that all adult novels are the same and she only borrowed a few ideas. Later that day, at a bus stop, Danbi runs into Oh, a writer working under Hwang. Oh encourages her to keep writing. When Danbi notices a sticker on Oh's bag featuring characters from her late father's fairy tales, she lights up. Oh says those books inspired her to become a writer. This deeply motivates Danbi. That evening, she meets her friends again who cheer her on. One friend even shares a personal story about her intimate life, which inspires Danbi's next attempt. She pours her heart into the manuscript and nervously asks Jang to read it. The story stirs feelings in him that he thought he'd lost, since constant exposure to explicit videos had left him numb. Her novel awakens his emotions, and he tells her it's excellent. Overjoyed, Danbi invites him out for drinks to celebrate. Meanwhile, a famous author named Chung-il, known by his pen name Hero King, approaches writer Oh and tries to recruit her for his publishing house. The next day, Hwang reads Danbi's manuscript and, to his shock, finds it surprisingly good. At that very moment, he gets a resignation message from Oh, who apologizes and says she's decided to leave. Hwang is in rage, knowing Chong-il has been stealing his writers. That night, Oh meets with Chong-il to discuss her new contract. They have dinner and spend time at his place. At the gym, their relationship turns more intimate and they share kisses and touches, unaware that Chong-il is secretly recording everything with a hidden camera pen. The next day, Danbi and her friends go to take pictures together. By mistake, she picks up a friend's vibrator, thinking it's lipstick. When it drops to the floor, everyone freezes in embarrassment, but soon they laugh it off and continue. During their conversation, her friends once again share personal stories, giving Danbi fresh inspiration for her writing. She hands her revised novel to Jang, who gives it another positive review. When she later shows it to Hwang, he asks her where she learned to write like that. Danbi explains that her father was her teacher. He had even won a literature contest in 2003. Hwang suddenly remembers that same contest because he too had entered, but lost. Realizing who her father was, Hwang decides to publish Danbi's novels under the pen name Firefox. Her books gain popularity, and Danbi celebrates her success with her friends and colleagues, though none of them know the real reason for her happiness. Days go by until one day, Danbi shows her fairy tale draft to Park. He tells her that with just a few small changes, she'll surely win the children's literature contest. His words make Danbi happy. But as time passes, she finds herself unable to focus on fairy tales anymore. Her inspiration flows only into writing adult novels. Conflicted but determined, she eventually finishes revising her fairy tale and submits it to the contest. The next day, she talks with Jang, who asks her what she'll do if she wins. Danbi explains that it was her father's dream to become a famous fairy tale writer, and she promised to make that dream come true. If she wins, she'll continue writing fairy tales. Jang gently points out that it sounds less like her own dream and more like a promise to her father. Before she could answer, she gets a message from Hwang asking her why she submitted a fairy tale instead of the adult novel he was waiting for. Shocked, Danbi realizes she accidentally sent her adult novel to the children's literature contest. Panicked, she rushes to the contest office to switch the submission, with Jang trying to help her fight through traffic. Soaked in rain, she arrives only to be told it's too late. They've read her work and this contest isn't for someone like her. Devastated, she cries, then meets with Park. To her shock, Park tells her she should stop calling herself a writer, saying she only writes trash. He feels humiliated since he always introduced her as a great fairy tale author. The next day, Hwang speaks to her, advising that she shouldn't live solely for a promise to her father, otherwise she'll be trapped in someone else's dream instead of her own. Her words stick with her. Danbi decides to take a few days off and returns to her hometown, where her mother still lives. She tells her everything. Her mother laughs and tells her to follow her own path, reminding her that even her father only wrote fairy tales because little Danbi always asked for them. Then her grandmother reveals a chest filled with her father's unpublished adult novels, some inspired by fairy tales. Encouraged, Danbi decides to follow her own way. Reading the positive comments from readers of her adult novels strengthen her resolve. She returns to work, where Jang is happy to see her again. That night, she tells her friends she'll only do what she truly wants from now on. Jang joins them, and they enjoy their time together. Meanwhile, Oh confronts Chung-il about using their private relationship in one of his novels. She demands he remove it or she'll sue. But he smirks and says other women knew he wrote about them too, yet they just walked away and did nothing. So she should do the same. He leaves her crying at his doorway. The next day, Chung-il works on a new novel and remembers when Hwang, once his boss, rejected him for exploiting women's private lives in his writing without their consent. Snapping out of his memories, he messages Danbi, offering her a position at his publishing house. A few days later, a scandal breaks out. It's revealed that Hero King, Chung-il, bases his adult novels on real-life experiences. While reading one of his book's summaries, Danbi realizes one story is clearly about Oh. The female character is described with the same fairy tale sticker that was on her bag. Furious, Danbi decides to sue him. At the same time, Hwang confronts Chong-il about what he did to Oh. But Chong-il smirkily reveals his next project, a novel about a government employee who writes adult fiction. Outraged, Hwang accuses him of seeking revenge for past criticism. Enraged, Chong-il smashes the side mirror of Hwang's beloved car. Just then, Danbi arrives and sees the chaos. She challenges Chong-il to a competition. Whoever ranks higher on the adult novel charts wins. If she wins, he must delete all his novels and disappear. If he wins, she must join his publishing house and give him even larger share of her royalties. Chong-il accepts. Days pass as Danbi pours herself into a new novel inspired by Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which she titles The Prince and the Seven Dwarfs. When she shares it with her friends, they cheer her on. Walking with Jang, the air between them shifts, and they hold hands, unable to hide their feelings anymore. Before saying goodbye, they kiss. Soon, Danbi's novel is published, and to everyone's surprise, it ranks higher than Chong-il's. Unwilling to lose, Chong-il exposes her secret at a literary forum, announcing that she's a government employee writing adult novels. Furious, Danbi, Jang, and Hwang go after him, knowing he's behind it. When they confront him, Hwang even rams his car to block Chong-il from escaping. At that moment, Oh arrives on a motorcycle and threatens to run him over. When Chong-il raises his hand to hit her, Jang charges forward with a flying kick but misses as Chong-il steps back. Danbi then lands a kick of her own, knocking him down, and tells him he must respect adult novels instead of disgracing them with his actions. The next day, a committee holds a hearing about Danbi's scandal. The director announces she'll be suspended for 3 months because her writing has tarnished the reputation of civil servants. Jang defends her, arguing that she did nothing wrong. She only wrote what she wanted, and who has the right to decide what kind of book is good or not? He's thrown out of the meeting. After much thought, Danbi submits her resignation letter, deciding to live for what makes her happy. Jang is glad when he hears this. Time passes. One day, while traveling by plane with Jang, Danbi sees breaking news. Chong-il has been arrested for secretly filming women during intimate moments. All his books have been taken down. The news brings her relief. Just then, she notices a couple stepping out of the airplane restroom together, an image that sparks a new idea for her next adult novel. And with that, the movie comes to an end.